As you may know, with people in your life who suffer from serious cognitive issues, what they often do is repeat the same types of stories over and over again. They have a very kind of limited story set and limited vocabulary. And when they struggle to get out the thoughts, they go back to those same moments. And I want to give you examples here from various Donald Trump speeches, but I want to focus first on what he said in Vegas and show you that as unhinged and as ridiculous and dangerous and strange as that speech was, these patterns we've covered in other Donald Trump speeches. So when Donald Trump talks about how he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks, that's something that Donald Trump says when he is unable to remember things. So he tells that story in other speeches also as just kind of part of, number one, being an absolute jerk, but two, as part of the filler as he's trying to remember what he should be saying. He attacks the contractors and says the teleprompter doesn't work or the microphone doesn't work and not to pay the contractors. That's something he does over and over again. Then oftentimes when he's reading the teleprompter, he very frequently reads the same kind of cues to him where it says like, talk quickly, says Donald Trump, and he reads that over and over again. Also, what we've been seeing recently, too, is Donald Trump waving to people who aren't even there, and he waves to like crowds that aren't there. He waves to people at the airport who aren't there. So let me just break this down for you, and then I want to compare what he's actually doing. Then I want to show you how is our media covering this, because I want to share with you some of the big problems. Then I want to show you what they should be doing. So take this, for example. During Donald Trump's speech in Vegas, he told the story how he has a connection to MIT. He doesn't really even remember what the connection is. In other speeches, he references that like his uncle went to MIT or taught at MIT, and that's how he tries to say he's smart. So I think that's what he means when he's talking about MIT. So he talks about a relationship with MIT. Then he talks about how he came up with this thought because he has this connection to MIT, about how when a boat is sinking, if it's an electrical boat, that can electrocute you. And so it would probably be better to be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. So this is what he said at Vegas. But I want to then show you this is not unique to the Vegas speech. This is part of what he does. Here, play this clip.
So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asked this question. And it must be because of MIT, my relationship to MIT. Very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too, a lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we could...
Right, so I'll give you just one other example where he kind of tells that story again. So during the Iowa primaries, he goes back to that story. He talks about being electrocuted rather than eaten by a shark. So he goes back to that moment a lot. Here, play this clip.
But if I'm sitting down and that boat's going down and I'm on top of a battery and the water starts flooding in, I'm getting concerned. But then I look 10 yards to my left and there's a shark over there. So I have a choice of electrocution or shark. You know what I'm going to take? Electrocution. I will take electrocution every single time. Do we agree? I will take electrocution.
Okay, so then in Vegas, there was that moment also where he attacks the contractors who set up his microphone and teleprompter, and he starts cursing at them. But this is a common pattern in many of his speeches. The first thing I would just say is, if you claim to be raising all of this money, then why are you not having better equipment? Why are you not doing these things indoors versus in 110-degree weather or in areas outside that are very windy where there could be a lot of variables where the best contractors would not be able to set things up based on just the weather conditions at all? Number two, I'm sure the contractors are doing a fine job and Donald Trump is just finding ways not to pay them. But this is something he does over and over again. So here he is in Vegas attacking the contractors. Play this clip.
Tell him to make the microphone louder. It's terrible. Yeah. He just came up. Are the teleprompters not working, sir? Not even a little bit. Great job. And then I don't pay the company that does it, right? And then I end up with a story Trump doesn't pay. I don't pay contractors that do a shitty job. And that's a shitty job. That's a shitty job. You can't read a word. But you know what? It usually ends up that the speech is better. It's crazy. Then they'll say, oh, isn't it terrible? Trump takes advantage of his No, I take great. When I have a good contractor or a subcontractor, nobody gets paid faster. But when I have contractors that do this kind of work, you can have them.
But we see time and time again that this is a pattern. So here's Donald Trump saying, don't pay the bills. This is in a speech that Donald Trump gave recently in St. Paul. Play this clip.
How about that? Before I got up, the teleprompter fell down. That's great. Great going, fellas, back there. Then they want to know why I didn't pay the bill. You know, I get a lot of heat. I got a teleprompter that's gone. This one's almost gone. But
here's a speech Donald Trump gave recently in Dayton, Ohio, where he says that. Play the clip.
But if you don't have fair elections, you don't. And you know what I add to it more and more? The fake news. They should be the police of our country, because if they were legit, they don't, you know, the biggest problem I have with them is the things they don't report. They barely, until recently, they would not talk about the borders. They wouldn't talk about the fact that our country is being destroyed at the borders. It's what they don't say that's a problem. And they don't say a lot. And what they do say is fake news. So other than that, I think they're fantastic. I'll move this over. Great job, fellas. Don't pay these suckers, please. Don't pay. Whoever the hell did that, that son of a gun. These people. I think Joe Biden put them in. With your vote, we will throw out the Bidenomics and we will reinstate a thing called Maganomics.
Here's a speech that Donald Trump gave in West Palm Beach, Florida, lashing out at staff for his microphone mid-speech and saying what a stupid microphone it is and yelling at his staff. Play this clip.
And I'm glad it's such, because this is the worst microphone I think I've ever had. I hope you can hear me back there. Justin, don't pay the bill for this mic. I'm blowing out my voice talking to this stupid mic. This is the worst mic I've ever had. Okay, now we'll get back to the speech. I'm trying to get their attention. Turn up the mic. Is it okay? And then I don't pay a bill and they say, Trump doesn't pay his contractors.
So you see these patterns over and over again. Let me show you another pattern right here where Donald Trump is reading the teleprompter and then he goes, yes, oh yes, and quickly, says Donald Trump. He's reading the directions to himself. Here, play this clip.
Yes, oh yes, and quickly, says President Trump. Yes, oh yes, and very quickly.
And here's just one other example of him doing that. Play the clip.
Yes, oh yes, and quickly, says President Trump. We will be there very quickly.
And then also we see Donald Trump now waving to imaginary people. As Donald Trump was leaving Vegas, he gets on his plane and he waves to nobody. Play this clip. When I think one of the things too, since he's become a convicted felon, some of the police departments are less likely to greet him or be there when he lands on the tarmac. He's waving to nobody there. Here, let me show you another clip. Here's Donald Trump leaving Trump Tower after he was convicted, waving to nobody. Play the clip.
See you later.
Show you one more clip here. Here's Donald Trump at the NASCAR event in Charlotte after he was booed from speaking at the Libertarian Convention. And then he's kind of waving to the crowd, but he's not near them. They're watching the race. And he's waving at them so he can feel like a big crowd's waving to him. But they're not waving at him. They're focused on the race. Here, play this clip. Okay, so, we did a whole list of everything Donald Trump said at that speech in Vegas, and I'll just read you the short summary right here. Go back and you can watch our recap video. Here's a short summary of Donald Trump's June 9 speech in Vegas. He tells the crowd, "I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care." He tells contractors who set up the mic and teleprompter they did a shitty job and he won't pay them. He tells the audience to choose suicide over Biden. He complains about the teleprompter again. He asks, "Do I get electrocuted or do I jump over by the shark?" He claims he aced a dementia test twice, not easy to ace. Says that that there has never been people treated more horrifically than J6 hostages. He calls the prosecutor a dumb son of a bitch. He complains the media is too focused on the health of crowd and the heat when they should care about him. He glitches multiple times. The speech ends. Then he's whisked away on the private jet paid by donors where he waves to imaginary people. But if you want to take a look, here's how USA Today covered this. With no teleprompter, Trump riffs with crowd at Las Vegas rally, vows to end taxes on tips. The lack of prepared remarks, this is what the USA Today article is, the lack of prepared remarks allowed for a looser speech where he often engaged in crowd participation like a stand-up comic, asking who should be his vice presidential running mate and whether Sleepy Joe or Crooked Joe was a better nickname for Biden. One tangent involved whether he'd prefer to be eaten by a shark or electrocuted. "I'll take electrocution every single time," Trump said. I mean, this is how USA Today's covering that. And by the way, that's how a lot of our corporate media here is covering Trump's speeches and not actually covering what's happening the way we do at MeidasNews.com. I do want to show you this, though, because here's how I think you have to frame it. Here is the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, and he's just saying exactly who Trump is. Play this clip.
Donald Trump is a convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist, and a congenital liar. He's a racist, sexist, misogynistic narcissist who wants to use the levers of power to enrich himself and punish anyone who dares speak a word against him. He has stolen state secrets, compromised our national security, betrayed our Constitution, and sacrificed the truth to further his own naked ambition. When Trump comes to Milwaukee for the Republican convention, he'll cast blame on others for his own misdeeds. He'll claim credit for things that he never touched. He'll lie and he'll ramble.
So ultimately there has to be a messenger, though, who carries the truth. J.B. Pritzker's talking the truth. And I don't really see the media covering that. On the other hand, Donald Trump is saying all of these outlandish and things that demonstrate real cognitive issues, and then the media reframes what he does and tries to give it some normalized lens. It's like wannabe fascist AI. Like Trump's speeches go through this corporate media wannabe fascist AI, and they try to normalize this behavior as though that was like a normal speech when we all know it's not. That's why people aren't reading that stuff and aren't watching that corporate media crap anymore. Like, what in the world is that? But I show you these patterns to show you this isn't just, oh, the prompter didn't work, so now he's doing that. No, this is a consistent trend that we see. We'll keep covering it here in the MeidasTouch Network every step of the way. You know we will. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million together.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.